I'd now like to introduce you to Catherine Parmenter, who is currently enrolled in a Master of Politics and Public Policy. She also works as a policy officer in the Premier and Cabinet Department and is involved in evaluating the 2009 New South Wales Child Protection reforms. She is here to talk to you about her postgraduate degree and student experience at Macquarie.
Good evening, and I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet tonight and pay my respects to elders past and present. Okay, so everyone has a different reason for doing postgraduate education. This is my journey and my experience, and more than likely probably everyone in this room has a slightly different journey that they're on. I've met people who have done postgraduate education because they couldn't get a job at the World Bank without a master's degree. I've met people who are doing it as a hobby. I've met people who just want to change in the direction of their career. For me, I wanted to advance my career, be fulfilled by what I do, and make a real difference in social policy. 2 years ago, I was working in community services as child protection caseworker. I'd spent the majority of the previous decade working in the front line of social work with children, with families, in remote areas, in juvenile justice, and of course in child protection. I had an undergraduate degree in social science, majoring in welfare, which put me in good stead amongst my colleagues, but I wanted to do more. So I started looking for courses in policy. I wanted to study subjects that could be adapted to my end goal of making decisions in the child protection policy sphere in a course flexible enough to allow me to spend time with my family. I came to the information night here. I met the staff, I had all my questions answered. I applied for the Politics and Public Policy Master's degree, and I started in semester 1, 2012. Working study into my work and home routine was a bit of a challenge, but it was one that I was ready for, as I had a strong desire and a real sense of purpose to be studying. The staff here were really supportive, and my fellow students were really supportive as well, and they gave me really great advice. I found the online student portal really easy and super user-friendly. All of my lecturers were available when I needed them, and so far all of my lecturers have been experts in their field. I started to learn about comparative public policy, policy transfer, the role that political parties play in policy. It was a world that I knew had existed before I started the course, but I had absolutely no idea about. Finding the time to study when you have a child and full-time job can be really difficult. I'm fortunate that I spend quite a lot of time on public transport. So public transport is really great if you don't want to get where you're going on time. Essentially, you have time to dedicate to absolutely whatever you like, whether it's reading, listening to music, doing your makeup. Me personally, I use my time to do my core readings. Sometimes I use the time to do my optional readings. I also do a large amount of my essays and assignments on the train, but not always. I find that while my intentions are good, sometimes I do need to study at home, and I'm able to dedicate maybe an hour or two after my son's bedtime to study when I need to, which is maybe once a week. That said, when an assignment is due, I dedicate all night, right up until 11:59, which is one of the perks of the online student portal. I guess for me, the key to being able to dedicate time to studying is actually wanting to. Since I've been able to choose subjects that I'm genuinely interested in, I'm more likely to spend that extra time learning. About halfway through my second semester, I applied for a position as policy officer with DPC, which is the Department of Premier and Cabinet. For me, this was a pretty significant advancement of my career. My manager tells me that I was a standout candidate for a number of reasons. Number one was my passion for the subject, child protection policy. Number two was the fact that I had a significant amount of frontline knowledge and I could incorporate that into discussions about policy. And third, and most importantly for tonight, was the fact that I was studying for my Masters in Politics and Public Policy. My manager has told me since that while policy experience wasn't my strength, the fact that I was studying and would soon have the knowledge and wanted to have this knowledge convinced him to offer me the position, and I'm really pleased to say that he hasn't regretted it. In fact, if he were here, and I know this for sure, my manager, who just on the side has a doctorate in freedom of information, he would say that my work at DPC has made a difference in child protection policy. The New South Wales Department of Premier and Cabinet has the responsibility for carrying out the Premier and Government's key priorities and coordinating whole of government initiatives, think New South Wales 2021. At DPC I work in governance, which evaluates whole of government reform and coordinates input to legislative changes in New South Wales. My specific role is to, as mentioned, evaluate child protection reforms that have been progressively implemented in New South Wales over the last 5 years. It's a really rewarding and really challenging job, which allows me to mix my interests and passion for children's rights and my blossoming knowledge in the policy sector. In my larger group, which is sector performance and coordination, many of the people that I work with have master's degrees. Some are studying here at Macquarie, and a number of our executive level staff have masters, and many of them have doctorates as well. At work, I've been able to apply my learnings from various subjects, often. At the moment, our team is managing a multi-million-dollar consultancy project. I use my knowledge of evidence-based policy to provide really great input to project design, setting milestones, using recognised models of social policy evaluation. I've also had significant discussions with management about theories of policy design, other jurisdictions' policies, flow-on effects from historical policies, and the relationship between frontline work and government priorities. Some of the assignments that I've completed that inform my work include a case study on the evaluation of Pacific Island child protection programs and recruitment and retention of child protection workers in rural areas. Being able to bring issues that I'm really passionate about to work and to influence people who make really high-level decisions has been really fulfilling for me. I'm also quite fortunate that DPC are really supportive of my study. They have fabulous study leave. They also have financial incentives for people who want to study. Okay, so that's my journey, but this is your journey. Studying here is a really extraordinary opportunity to further your career, learn more about something that you're interested in, and be part of a really supportive and competent academic team that is really well respected in the professional field. Speaking from experience, tonight you're on the first step of a journey and you have a choice to undertake postgraduate education and all of the opportunities that that journey offers. But of course only you can take that step. If I had to give myself, and I've been thinking about this a lot, if I had to give myself one piece of advice when I was sitting here 2 years ago, it would be to just do it and not overthink it. Because now, the master's students that I study with at Macquarie are the leaders of tomorrow. So they're the politicians to be, they're the director generals to be, they're the CEOs, and hopefully for me, the social policy experts of tomorrow. Thank you.